The two Opel Vectras were heavy pre-race favourites. BMW Envirocar pair Dion Joubert and Sean van der Linde lowered Opel racing colours for the first time this season in round 5 in Port Elizabeth. Kyalami saw the pair out for the first time in 95 spec BMW Envirocars. There was a change in personnel in the Sasol Ford Mondeo team, with Steve Wyndham partnering Cyril van der Merwe in place of Ben Morgenrud. Wyndham is a former Toyota factory driver and SA Standard Saloon Car champion. Rothman's Audi pair, Terry Moss and Chris Aberdeen, were pinning their hopes on intensive tyre testing with a Dunlop engineer flown in from overseas. The Toyota dealer team flew in Toyota Britain factory driver and former GP star Julian Bailey to help set up the Castrol Toyota Camry driven by Anthony Taylor and the Minolta Camry in the hands of Mike White. The BP Nissan team also put a lot of development work into the two Sentras driven by Genil de Villiers and Nick de Waal, with the team hoping to see both drivers back in the points. The Alfa Romeo team, run by sports car ace George Fouché, had its first championship outing of the season with Hilton Cowie at the wheel of an Alfa 155T. With the BMW Envirocar team out in new cars, there was a boost for German driver Sabine Reck. The pretty blonde took over the car campaigned earlier this season by Dion Joubert. 6 wins in 6 starts in the BMW 325 took Class B leader Kurzi Swanepoel to AA Kyalami with the only unbeaten record in the AA Fleetcare Super Touring Car Series. Put on your helmets and fasten your seatbelts because it's time for the action-packed AA Fleetcare Super Touring Championship. 6 manufacturers and some of the best drivers in the world clash head-on in a formula which has taken motor racing by storm. The AA Fleetcare Super Touring Championship, Africa's most exciting racing formula. After 2 successive trips to the coast, the AA Fleetcare Super Touring Car Championship returned to the Highveld on April the 8th. An autumn day in Gauteng started with clear blue skies and the promise of more drama in round 7 and 8 of the championship at the AA Kyalami Grand Prix circuit in Midrand. Beaten only once this season, Mike Briggs led the championship ahead of teammate Grant McCleary after 6 rounds. Only 1 point separated McCleary and BMW driver Dion Joubert, with reigning champion Sean van der Linde 4th. Previously known as the AA Fleetcare Touring Car Championship, the South African series has moved into line with the rest of the world by adopting the Super Touring tag. The April 8 outing at AA Kyalami also saw the championship move into line with the rest of the world by adopting new FIA-approved aerodynamic regulations. It was a case of off with the old and on with the new. At the heart of the aerodynamic regulations now in force are the front splitters and rear wings fitted to the cars. In layman's terms, the splitters and rear wings previously permitted were almost identical to those found on road cars. The new aerodynamic packages have been specially developed for racing purposes. Official practice claimed its first victim when Nick de Waal was lucky to escape virtually unscathed from a high-speed accident.
Well, I was doing a race distance test and it was actually going very well. We could consistently stay in the 48s for 6-7 laps. And I came around the second S where we do about 180, 185 kilometers an hour. And as I sort of got to the apex of the corner, I suddenly realized that there was just a huge puddle of oil. Obviously the car in front of me blew his engine and dropped all the oil. And I hit the oil at that speed, and then there's just absolutely nothing you can do. It's like ice. And I just went straight off at that speed and hit the barriers.
Yeah, well, again, good to see new blood up front there. I wouldn't read too much into the size of the gap. I think I had a particularly good lap, no traffic, the tyres really worked well. And I think we're in for a bit of an interesting race because Anthony Taylor I know well from my GDI days, and despite his age, is a hard and well-experienced candidate, so I'm in for a tough time. The BMs obviously we always concern ourselves with when they get too close to us because they really are good off the line, and to have Grant up front there, and for him it was a tremendous effort because Grant was having some difficulty earlier in the week. So for him, it was I think he literally carried the car around. I was watching him in my rearview mirror, and the car wasn't doing everything he wanted it to do, but he carried it around. It was a great effort on his part. They've done one tremendous amount of work in the workshop, doing the casters, the Ackerman, the bump steer, everything. The car has really worked very well, and with Dave Cook being here, it has helped tremendously. I'm very happy for myself and for the team. I must thank the team for all the hard work and the preparation that they have put into the car. I've come from the back before, and I think that's more pressure than, well, what I found out, maybe that's a bit more pressure coming from the back through the field and starting on the front row. But I just hope my start's going to be good. I have done good starts before, so hopefully we'll get off the line quick and perhaps win. That's what we're aiming for.
Sean van Linde, a very good qualifying session. We're in second place, next to Michael on the front row of the grid, with a few minutes to go in the session. Eventually pushed back to fourth place. What happened?
Well, all the front-wheel drive cars were on qualifying tyres, and we were on our race rubber. And I mean, they had the benefit of getting enough heat in the tyres because it was quite cool in qualifying. And I think that's where the advantage they got it from. So I think today in the race will be a total different story because they can't race with qualifying tyres. So I think we're on par now, and I think we'll have to sort it out in the race. It's going to be a different story.
Terry Boss, 7th on the grid, but 2.2 seconds quicker than you were at Kyalami in January.
Well, I'm very happy with the improvements since January. The work the team has put in has definitely paid its dividends. The qualifying time of 1 minute 48 was a little disappointing for me because I'd done a 1 minute 47.5 early on in the day, qualifying trim. The temperatures were very low towards the end of the day, and I think it caught many of us when the tyres took a little long to warm up. And the idea is not to do too many laps because you have to race with 2 of those tyres. So the more laps you do in qualifying, the more rubber you wear off, and the more you'll battle in the race.
Sarah van der Merwe qualified, looked very good to you at the beginning. Gearbox problem. Thereafter, what happened?
Well, it should have been really good. We've been fast all week, and I think this has been our best shot to be on the front row of the grid. But on my qualifying lap, the car stuck in fourth gear twice, and in the process, I probably lost more than a second on my qualifying lap. And like I said, we should have been in the front row of the grid, but now we're 8th. So it's going to be a battle from there.
Well, I'm just learning slowly. I don't want to go and fall off and crash. So I haven't gone off at all in 2 days of testing, and we're going very well now. I'm confident in the car. The guys have done an excellent job. And I'm sure we'll see the Ford up front pretty soon.
I always go quick at Kyalami. Last time I also had pole position. It's just we've got lots of other problems, reliability problems, and I think this weekend is going to be the weekend it's going to happen.
Another pole position for championship leader Mike Briggs in the Opel Vectra, and alongside him Anthony Taylor in the Castrol Camry. Grant McCleary in the second Vectra shares the second row with reigning champion Sean van der Linde. A fine performance from Mike White, 5th fastest in the Minolta Camry, and alongside him Dion Joubert in the second Enviro car. Terry Moss edged into 8th place ahead of his friend and arch rival Sarel van der Merwe. An impressive 9th fastest for Sasol Ford newcomer Steve Wyndham, who shares the 5th row with Chris Aberdeen in the second Audi. The parade lap for the 7th round of the AA Fleetcare Super Touring Car Championship, and the sun is beaming down on the AA Kyalami Grand Prix circuit. Missing from the parade lap is Nick de Waal in the BP Nissan Sentra, who had a massive accident in practice. The team thought they could repair the car in time for the race, but de Waal is still very sore and wisely has decided to sit this one out. It's a blow for de Waal and the BP Nissan team, but fortunately Nick escaped without any serious damage. Young Anthony Taylor is sandwiched on the grid between championship leader Mike Briggs and his Opel Vectra teammate Grant McCleary, and will want a good start. If Taylor can get the Castrol Toyota Camry into the first corner ahead of the Opels, he could make life difficult for both Briggs and McCleary. Mike Briggs takes up station in pole position with Grant McCleary behind him. The weather is perfect, the bright fires are going full blast with a crowd of over 25,000 basking in sunshine at AA Kyalami here in Midrand as we wait for round 7 of the AA Fleetcare Super Touring Car Championship. Racing is underway and Briggs has made a clean start. Someone has stalled on the line. That's Mike White in the Minolta Camry as we go to race cam with Anthony Taylor in the Castrol Toyota. Briggs and McCleary are 1 and 2 as van der Linde sneaks through on the inside of Taylor at the total curbs. The Opel Vectra pair of Briggs and McCleary got just the start they wanted. They lead Sean van der Linde in the Enviro car with Taylor in 4th place. Dion Joubert is 5th in the 2nd Enviro car, and Steve Windham has picked up a couple of places and is 6th, first time out in the Sassel Ford Mondeo. That's a boost for Windham as the cars power their way through Goodyear Sweep. The two Rothmans Audis are 7th and 8th. This is lap 1, and Geniel de Villiers is looking for a way past Sabine Reck in the Motorplan BMW. The German girl is having none of that and closes the door on the Nissan. De Villiers will attack again at the Rothmans S's, and already some interesting little tussles are starting to develop throughout this quality field. The tabletop at Westbank Corner, and it's hard on the brakes for the tight left-hander. The order is unchanged among the first 6 cars, but Steve Windham is under heavy pressure from Terry Moss in the 4-wheel drive Rothmans Audi. Racecam action from the Van der Merwe Mondeo, and Supervan has a bird's-eye view of the Sabine Reck and Geniel de Villiers tussle. Van der Merwe made another poor start. These cars are difficult to get off the line, and Van der Merwe has made life difficult for himself. Up ahead, de Villiers and Sabine Reck are fighting over the same bit of road as Van der Merwe closes in under braking. The Nissan and the BMW touched at the AA Super Bowl, but de Villiers has the advantage as they head for the AA kink. Sabine Reck is a tough competitor, but de Villiers has moved ahead of the BMW. And now Sabine will come under attack from the Sassel Ford Mondeo. Briggs leads the charge down the Gestetner Straight with McCleary tucked in behind him. Van der Linde is 3rd in the BMW Enviro car with Anthony Taylor piling on the pressure in the Castrol Toyota Camry. Great action from the rear-facing race cam on the Van der Linde BMW. The field is starting to spread out just a little, but there are 3 or 4 little races developing within a race. Briggs and McCleary look as though they're edging away from Van der Linde, who has Taylor and Joubert right behind him. There is definitely a gap opening between the Opels and Van der Linde in 3rd place. The reigning champion is still under pressure from Taylor, who has Joubert in the 2nd Enviro car on his tail. Behind them, Steve Windham is under attack from the 2 Rothmans Audis, and Van der Merwe has also found a way around Sabine Reck to pick up a place. Up the hill towards Westbank Corner as we go to race cam with young Anthony Taylor in the Castrol Toyota Camry. Taylor is chasing after Sean van der Linde in the BMW Enviro car, and both drivers will be well aware of the fact that they cannot afford to let Mike Briggs and Grant McCleary pull too much of a lead. The Opel Vectra drivers look to be in command at this stage, and the real battle is behind them. Taylor locks up the brakes at the AA Super Bowl hairpin. This is the fight for 3rd, 4th and 5th, with Anthony Taylor's Castrol Toyota Camry sandwiched between the BMW Enviro cars of Sean van der Linde and Dion Joubert. Van der Linde went a little wide coming out of the AA kink, kicking up the dirt as Taylor again locks up the brakes at Gestetner Corner, and Joubert is right on the Toyota's bumper. While Van der Linde and company are fighting it out, race leader Mike Briggs and Grant McCleary are still edging away from the battle going on behind them. The Opel Vectras have only been beaten once this season, are in command of this race. More racecam action from the Van der Linde BMW at more than 200 kilometers an hour. Van der Linde, Taylor and Joubert are still locked together, with behind them Steve Windham still 6th in his first outing in the Sassel Ford Mondeo. Van der Linde's BMW Enviro car leads a high-speed AA Fleetcare Super Touring train through the Goodyear Sweep. This is where tremendous G-forces build up on the drivers, and they are buffeted about in the car. Taylor again locks up the Castrol Camry brakes at Goodyear Corner, and he must have a problem as Terry Moss sneaks up on Steve Windham, and that is as clean a passing manoeuvre as you could wish to see. Terry Moss has moved ahead of Steve Windham into 6th place, but as the cars go up the hill towards Westbank, you can see the gap opening between the Opels and those doing the chasing. This is Westbank, and Taylor is under pressure from Joubert. Again, he locks up the brakes, runs wide, and that gives Joubert the opportunity to slip through on the inside of the Camry. But Taylor is fighting back, and look at the speed of the Toyota as Taylor is again up alongside the BMW as they fly down the Caltex mine shaft. Sheer straight-line speed has taken Taylor ahead of the BMW through Haviland Sweep, but again Taylor locks up the brakes, goes wide, and again Joubert is almost through on the inside. This is tremendous stuff with Joubert and Taylor side by side, and the BMW is passed again at the AA kink. What a battle as we get a close-up of the action from the Toyota race cam, and Taylor is going for the inside of Gestetner. Here comes trouble, they've touched. There was contact between the Camry and the BMW, and Joubert has spun out. That little incident was entirely predictable, and Joubert won't be thinking kindly towards Anthony Taylor right now. Here's the replay with Taylor sneaking down the inside as Joubert turns into the corner. The BMW is torpedoed amidships by the Camry, and even if Joubert gets going again, his chances of finishing in the points are next to nothing. Into the final stages, and Terry Moss in the Rothmans Audi has also moved ahead of Anthony Taylor in the Castrol Toyota Camry. The race order is Briggs, McCleary, van der Linde, Moss, Taylor and Aberdeen, who has moved ahead of Steve Wyndham into 6th place. Behind Wyndham, Geniel de Villiers is holding off Charles van der Merwe, and Mike White in the Minolta Toyota Camry, who has recovered well after stalling at the start. Racecam action from the van der Merwe Ford and Supervan would dearly love to get ahead of Geniel de Villiers in the BP Nissan Sentra and put himself into the points. De Villiers had a bit of a moment coming out of the Rothmans S's, but van der Merwe is running out of race distance. Up at West Bank, there's more pressure for Anthony Taylor as Chris Aberdeen tries to force his way through on the inside. There was contact between the two cars, but once again, Taylor is fighting back. The Camry has tremendous straight-line speed and has forged ahead of the Audi down the Caltex mineshaft. Taylor chopped across Aberdeen's bows at the Haviland sweep, with Steve Wyndham in close attendance. Mike Briggs is on course for his 6th win in 7 starts, but behind him some tight battles will go all the way to the wire. Mike Briggs and Grant McCleary take the checkered flag for an Opel 1-2, and there are problems for someone at the AA kink. As the dust clears, that's Chris Aberdeen's Rothmans Audi, which has ended up in the gravel trap. The action replay of the AA kink incident, and Anthony Taylor it is who tangled with the Audi. Chris Aberdeen's race ends in the sand trap 2 corners from home, and it's been an eventful outing for Taylor. Another triumph for the Opel Vectras ahead of Sean van der Linde. Anthony Taylor was excluded from the results, with Terry Moss, Steve Wyndham and Geniel de Villiers also in the points.
So I got a great start, and I think Grant got an even better start, and I was just worried that he wouldn't be able to hang on there, so I kept looking back to make sure he'd come along. And once we got the break, it was pretty much easy from there. I just kept the car together and pretty much by the book, very easy.
The battle-scarred Castrol Toyota Camry, driven by Anthony Taylor, with the young Krugersdorp driver finding himself in the middle of a little controversy.
The incident with Chris was he was just pushing me over, and then the end result was he spun himself. At the moment, we've got a bit of a problem about it, but hopefully we'll sort it out and we will be in the right.